Welcome in, everybody. This is David Shepard on Sirius XM Channel 375 and the Infinity Sports Network. You can hear us border to border and coast to coast across North America in 300 plus markets. And we are joined by another legendary figure. It is none other than the great Bob Cousy. Mr. Cousy, it is so great to have you on our platform. How are you, sir?
Never ask a 97-year-old how they're doing. You get a long, boring soliloquy of aches and pains. I will spare you and the audience that. However, with that said, I'm not sure how cogent any of my observations would be. And even then, when the game starts after 8 o'clock, they lose me because that's my bedtime.
Understood.
I don't know what I'm giving you here, David, but let's try.
Mr. Cousy, you're giving us more than you'll ever know. We want to touch on your legendary career first off. 13-time All-Star, 10-time All-NBA first team, an MVP, a 6-time NBA champion, but you were elected to the Hall of Fame in 1971. Where does that rank for you among your greatest basketball accomplishments?
I suppose by then, David, I kind of expected to represent the sport in that capacity. So I've been very active. I may be the most active living basketball player. I've served on every committee at the Hall. I've worked closely with the leadership. So I've paid my dues in terms of that. When I sit and reflect now, and that's what old people do, they think about their experiences in life, and usually we try to block out the negative ones,
Sure.
and I guess I do the same and focus on the positive. But obviously my time with the Celtics, I've been fortunate in so many ways. I have said often I am the luckiest SOB on the planet. I was fabricated overseas in 27, born the following year when my parents decided to come from dear old France and settle in New York City, and then got thrown in eventually to that basketball cauldron, which it was at the time in the 30s, in the town of St. Albans on Long Island, where the high school team had been immensely successful. And I did reasonably well for a year and a half. Ended up at Holy Cross. I made All-City, which was a big deal in those days, and I thought I'd be inundated with a few requests. I got 2 college requests. One of them was from a small Jesuit school, Holy Cross, in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Yes, sir.
That had no basketball history whatsoever. They had given it up during the war. They resurrected it. I walked in with, I was one of the few snot-nosed kids, 17, that got in the Holy Cross, and I knew I wanted a Jesuit education, and I did get that. And that really turned my life around in terms of a moral code. I needed a guide, and the Jesuits provided it. And I've lived it the rest of my life, and in between, I came upon the Boston Celtics at a time when a guy named Red Auerbach joined the team the same year, 1950. It was also the year Walter Brown, the owner of the team, stood up at an owners' meeting and said, "The Celtics choose Chuck Cooper from Duquesne." So the first black player came into the league unnoticed.
Right.
A guy named Jackie Robinson came in 4 years prior.
That's right, 1947.
Absolutely.
Yes, you gave us more on that answer than we could have ever anticipated, so we're very appreciative of your transparency. Your memory is like an elephant in terms of what you can recall. We are joined by Bob Cousy on Sirius XM Channel 375 and the Infinity Sports Network. I want to credit your humility for a second because you discuss being the luckiest SOB in your own words. But the way I look back at your career, you came in as a rookie, making less than $10,000. Rookies today make more than $10 million. And that's a testament. That's a testament to you and George Mikan.
I'm very pleased at that, David, because I started the Players Association. I served as its president the first 9 years, and I am so pleased. You're right. I signed for $9,000 in 1950, and I've worked since then in every way I could to make the beautiful sport we play now, and I'm hoping it even overtakes soccer in my lifetime. But in any event, it has established itself. I made $9,000 that first year. Tatum and Brown, signed for $314 million last year. Boggles the mind. I can't relate to that. But I'm pleased as hell that this has happened to our sport.
It's like Monopoly money. We are joined again by the legendary Bob Cousy on SiriusXM Channel 375 and the Infinity Sports Network. You mentioned Jackie Robinson and the impact he had from a cultural standpoint. When I watch documentaries on you, Mr. Cousy, and I hear you talk in such reverence about your former teammate Bill Russell, I always think you're a little too hard on yourself in terms of how you gauge that relationship. There's no question how much easier and better you made the life of Bill Russell, which is really one of the first true dynasties in all the sports, 11 championships in 13 years. You were a part of 6 of those titles. Speak to how proud you are about Bill Russell being the first number ever retired league-wide.
I do have a little guilt left over for not doing more, frankly. I have, I am, again, so lucky. I've been invited to the White House by 9 sitting presidents. And in all of those events, in one way or another, I have tried to advance the cause of social justice. I'm not a soapbox guy, so I don't get up and scream and holler, but I do what I can, I suppose, and have always done. And Russell fought the good fight, and he did it, while being the most successful, certainly center that's ever played the game, and turned our little life around. I mean, Russ got there in 56, and we were on chopped liver, David. We had like 4 or 5 Hall of Famers then, and we ended up with about 8 that made that most incredible professional sports team record this country has ever seen. 11 championships.
It's unreal.
In 13 years. I mean, when the city wins a Stanley Cup or whatever, a World Series, they celebrate for 2 weeks, and if they don't think about winning it again, because it seldom happens, and we won it 11 times in 13. That's the most incredible, and I was part of that. I'm very proud of that today, and Russ was the man. We wouldn't have done it without him, but he fought the social battle at the same time. Russ felt very strongly about his cause, and he would defend it. He went with his conscience. So you have to respect that, and still got the job done, and is probably the most well-known NBA player in our lifetime.
When you, we're joined by the legendary Bob Cousy on SiriusXM Channel 375 and the Infinity Sports Network, and I know you don't get caught up in this low common denominator conversation in terms of greatest of all time. And obviously in today's society, we rightfully say LeBron James or Michael Jordan. Some people even say Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Can you just speak to Bill Russell's overall greatness and why he continues to get left out of the conversation?
He was never known for his shooting ability. Matter of fact, we tried not to give him the ball when it came time to shoot. So, however, with that said, I think he might have been the best athlete. He was a track and field guy in college, as you probably know.
Right.
Even the great George Mikins and so guys that came along after him that were highly successful were not athletes. They wouldn't be able to play in today's game, frankly. They wouldn't get up and down the floor quickly enough to. Russell was an athlete in every way, and he had speed and quickness and abundance, and at 6'9", 6'9 and a half, whatever he was, these guys he guarded, including the small, just weren't prepared for that. He would come out of nowhere. He played his first game with us. He came in mid-year because it was an Olympic year. We were playing weekly television had just begun. and we were playing the St. Louis Hawks on television on a Sunday afternoon, and we hadn't seen him. He just showed up and started to play with us, so we hadn't practiced really, and we said afterwards, what do you think? Jesus, he is going to control our backboard, which is what we were looking for. We could do everything else. We ran transition as well as any team ever has, but we couldn't control the backboard consistently, and that affected how effective we could be. But anyway, so we said, I think he is going to answer our backboard. He control it completely. But he may throw in a little defense too. He blocked a few shots. Well, he became the premier shot blocker of the game.
Without question.
And, caught the world by surprise. So these were all physical strengths that he had.
Absolutely.
Now, at 6'9", at the position he played, they never adjusted. Wilt was his big challenge in those days, and Wilt would score 30 points, but the point is we won the game generally.
Wilt Chamberlain averaging over 50 points per game in one season, obviously scoring 100 points in one single game in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and only once was Wilt Chamberlain able to break through in 1967.
Exactly.
And it's not a coincidence, Bob Cousy, that you were not on that team. Had you been on that team Had you been on that team in 1967, we might be talking about 13 straight championships now.
Well, I could have, frankly, played a few more years, but anyway, we won't go into that. But in any event, Russell he was the key piece of the team that created the most spectacular, as I said earlier, team accomplishment in our professional history in any sport. You can put that against, the Yankees, Green Bay, Montreal.
Agreed.
They're all great representatives of their sports. None of them can come close to that achievement. 11 championships.
It's unreal. The only thing which I can think of that resembles that is the UCLA Bruins with John Wooden when they won 10 national titles in 12 years.
That's true, but
that's a lot different. Without question. Without question. Yes, we so appreciate your time on SiriusXM Channel 375 and the Infinity Sports Network. There are so many people that still really take into account your opinion and have so much respect for what you've stood for your entire career, your entire life. So it's such a thrill for me to be able to talk to you on these airwaves, Mr. Cousy. My question for you is, you brought up Red Auerbach and you brought up, obviously, John Wooden. These are two great coaches. You have a great young coach right now in Boston, in Joe Mazzulla. He's just 37 years old. He's got 2 Eastern Conference Finals appearances. He's an NBA champion as a head coach. Speak to how impressed you are so far about the job that Joe Mazzulla has done in Boston from what you've seen.
Well, I'm 40 miles away, sitting on my fat ass vegetating, so I'm not with the program. Right. I'm not sure how cogent my sense is. However, I have great confidence in Brad Stevens. He's got an entire rebuilding situation for him that's just opened up. The Celtics cleaned house, as you know.
Right.
They had to get under the cap, and doing so, they've still got some talented players. Everything I've heard, everything I have seen, tends to make me believe that Brad Stevens chose the right man for the job. Joe called me on my birthday a few weeks ago, and it's the first time I've had a chance to chat with him at any length. He's very enthusiastic, which he's going to need.
Sure.
He's going to need patience and enthusiasm. The Celtics are not going to be favored next year or even close to it. Tatum may be out for the year. They don't even know if he'll play.
with the Achilles injury. And Mr. Cousy, that's what I wanted to ask you is, I know you have tremendous respect for Jaylen Brown, not just him as a player, but what he stands for in terms of social justice, the causes that he gets behind. Do you feel like the Celtics, while they may not win a championship, they can still be competitive with Jaylen Brown as their best player?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, absolutely. That kid White's not chopped liver, you know.
That's a good point. That's a good point. He's pretty special too now. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. And Tatum may be back for a portion of the season. In talking with the coach a couple of weeks ago, I said that. I said, Coach, you're going to have your job cut out for you. He said, no, we may surprise him. His comments were all upbeat. He said, we still have some pretty skilled players. I have no idea. I know they're going to start the season without a damn center. I mean, Porzingis is gone.
Yes.
Horford is gone. Tough game to play without a center. And as far as I know, that's what they're going to. So I love Joe's enthusiasm.
Absolutely. And again, we are joined by the legendary Bob Cousy on SiriusXM Channel 375 and the Infinity Sports Network. We got two more questions for you. I know you've spoken so highly of Rajon Rondo in the past. In the last 20 years, in the modern day game, is there a player that you see in yourself?
Not really, David. I respect any player who is, quote, a pure point guard, because it takes a special mentality to create whatever it is. Today, the three-point shot has changed the game a bit.
Right.
Some teams rely on it more than others. I'm still a transition guy. We ran transition, as I said earlier, as well as any team ever has. And our first thought coming across each time, other than trying to beat the defense back, was to attack the basket and create something at the goal. And I know the analytics don't agree with me these days, and I'll go to my grave defending that position. But I think the three-point shot is an excellent weapon to use, and it should be there, predicated on your player's skills in that regard. But to depend on it as much as sometimes some teams do, I would not buy. I don't care how many computers tell me otherwise. So, but in any event, it's attack the basket. And I'd like to think that I saw the court each time down as well as any point guard who's played the game and could create openings with whatever I had to do in that regard. That would create a good shot at the basket, by one of my so-called shooters.
Sure.
I lived with Bill Sharman for 10 years. He was the best shooter in the league.
Great, underrated coach, too. No one ever puts him in the conversation for the greatest coaches of all time. You remember what he did with the Lakers.
Yeah, no, Billy was successful at what he did, everything he did, because he approached it with that kind of determination and dedication. So when you're fortunate enough to have the material to work with, you produce results. It's that easy. I think I saw the court about as well as anyone who's played the game.
Oh, I think there's a lot of people that would agree with that. We are joined by the legendary Bob Cousy on SiriusXM Channel 375 and the Infinity Sports Network. What a lot of people don't realize is you played in your 40s in the NBA. You came back and played with Cincinnati for 7 games and could still play at a high level. And playing in your 40s back then is like playing in your 50s with modern medicine and technology in the 2020s. So many people talk and discuss Celtic pride. You lived it. Can you just explain to our audience what the definition of Celtic pride means to you and how that has not just impacted you as an all-time great basketball player, but what you have done in terms of your life?
I will refer you back, David, to my aforementioned Jesuit education.
Sure.
The Jesuits showed me the way. They gave me the moral code. The rest of it, you hear coaches in youth sports constantly tell kids in one form or another, whatever game they'll do, or it doesn't have to be a game. It can be whatever your point of interest is, you've got to give it your complete attention. And, nowadays it's tougher to do that. There are more distractions in everyone's life, and including professional athletes. And some of the distractions I like. You referenced Jaylen Brown's interest in social justice, and I applaud that. I wish, more players were aware and concerned enough to, but not if it interferes with your primary goal. And ours, and Red Auerbach, who used to fight his way to school in Brooklyn in the 50s, our will to win, regardless of, there were no limitations whatsoever. Winning was ahead of everything, and we had, in the 50s and 60s and 70s, we had very few distractions. Maybe that are very successful financial endeavors these days.
Sure.
They make a hell of a lot of money. It dilutes their primary concern, in my judgment, as to how important winning and losing at something in life is. And unless you give it full commitment, it's not going to happen, no matter how much talent you have, and unless you complement that physical with a mental approach. And that's what Arnold, focused on, but he had 12 willing students. So I came out of there, as I say, win at any cost. That's an advantage we had that has been diluted over the years. Jaylen's message about race relations and if he's respected by kids and they listen to him, and hopefully this becomes a better planet, then I'm all for it, because, boy, this planet needs help, David.
Yeah, well, fortunately we have people like yourself. There is nothing that is diminutive about you, Bob Cousy. You are truly a treasure. You are truly an all-time great, not just as a basketball player, but what you have stood for in terms of player empowerment, in terms of making sure that the NBA has a reach, has a platform that touches so many people that aren't necessarily just into basketball, but into just people that they should strive after in terms of role models. And we cannot thank you enough for your time on SiriusXM Channel 375 and the Infinity Sports Network. It's been an honor to speak to you, Bob. Thank you so much.
David, it's ever a pleasure. Thank you.